President Trump just revealed a strategic economic plan so bold that foreign leaders are scrambling to make emergency calls to Washington. We've obtained insider information about a principle involving cannonballs that's reshaping America's entire manufacturing strategy. How many trillions in private capital has already been committed to American shores? Which tech giant that controls the world is bringing its production back to the United States? And what shocking admission did the White House just make about Biden's trade policies? This isn't just about better trade deals. It's about something far more critical to our national survival. The globalists who enrich themselves for decades are in complete panic. We have all the details. So are you ready to transform your skin and unlock your youthful glow just like Trump is rejuvenating America's economic foundation? Well, this cutting-edge multi-collagen formula is transforming skin health. As we rebuild our manufacturing base, you can rebuild your skin's vital collagen. I absolutely love how it's transformed my skin. Can't you tell how beautiful my skin is? Looking younger, while Trump is helping America look stronger. This formula features 5 key types of collagen from 4 different sources, critical for reducing wrinkles, improving elasticity, and promoting hydration. Get 51% off during this patriotic promotion at healthwithgary.com. Your skin will thank you, just like American workers are thanking Trump. Let's jump into this. President Trump and his administration laying the groundwork to invoke national security to impose a new tax on pharmaceuticals and semiconductors. This is actually this is a news bite from Good Morning America. Yeah, they're biting their tongue having to report this.
The White House is, Michael, good morning. And the White House is laying the groundwork for the president to invoke national security to impose new tariffs on semiconductors and on pharmaceuticals. This could have a big impact on Americans across the country. Semiconductors, traditionally made outside of the United States, are used to power everything from cars to smartphones. And on pharmaceuticals, the raw ingredients used to make most medicines are also made overseas. Experts warn that could drive up the prices on over-the-counter drugs like ibuprofen. But the president is insisting that all of that needs to be made here in the United States. And some tech companies, including NVIDIA overnight, have responded to his demand for manufacturing here in the United States. But it will take time for those productions to get up and running. Meanwhile, the White House, Trump administration, continuing these negotiations on trade with other countries. The vice president says there is a good chance that the U.S. will reach a trade agreement with the U.K., but not at the negotiating table is China. Those 145% tariffs on Chinese imports are still in place, Michael.
And Rachel, it's a new day and it's a new lawsuit for President Trump over the tariffs.
Exactly, Michael. Now, this time it is a group of small businesses that are suing the Trump administration over these tariffs, saying the president does not have the power to impose them, calling his reasoning that this is a national emergency, a, quote, figment of his imagination. Now, the White House is pushing back, insisting that it is a national emergency, saying that these tariffs do level the playing field for small businesses and for workers, Michael.
Yes, I'm sure the small businesses really have the full national security picture, don't they? Yeah, I think President Trump clearly understands. Here we have from the press secretary earlier today sharing a statement from the president that the ball is in China's court now.
In China's court. Look, the president has made his position on China quite clear, although I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country, except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants, what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money. So the president, again, has made it quite clear that he's open to a deal with China, but China needs to make a deal with the United States of America.
Yeah, they certainly do. They need our money. Here's more from the press secretary. President is turning America into a manufacturing superpower again.
President Trump is turning America into a manufacturing superpower again. Yesterday, there was a monumental announcement by NVIDIA, one of the largest companies in the world. This is just the latest example. For the first time ever, chip-making giant NVIDIA will produce AI supercomputers entirely in the United States. as part of its pledge to produce $50 billion worth of AI infrastructure in our country over the next 4 years. With their manufacturing partners, they have commissioned more than 1 million square feet of manufacturing space to build and test NVIDIA Blackwell chips in the great state of Arizona and AI supercomputers in the great state of Texas. NVIDIA's founder and CEO Jensen Huang touted how the engines of the world's AI infrastructure are being built in the United States for the first time. This is the Trump effect. This follows trillions in other U.S. investments announced already, including $500 billion from Apple in U.S.-based manufacturing and training, $100 billion from TSMC and U.S.-based chips manufacturing, and the $500 billion private investment led by OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank in artificial intelligence infrastructure. Under President Trump, we're going to produce the cars, the ships, the chips, the airplanes, minerals, and medicines that we need right here in America at the hands of American workers.
And that's why it's a national security issue. So these small businesses could go ahead and try to, create an injunction against these tariffs. But President Trump, and we all remember, you guys remember what happened during the pandemic when all the trade was shut down. The supply chains were disrupted. It's because we're too dependent on China. That's why it's a freaking national security issue. I mean, I just report the news, okay? And I can figure this out. Oh, man. Anyway, on Varney and Company, question asked, do you think we're going to win the tariff war? Here's Dave Ramsey's response.
Negotiating, it looks like. You think we're going to win the tariff war?
Based on the guy doing the negotiating, it looks like we are.
Okay, I'll take that as a yes. You think?
I'll take that as a yes. Here's Secretary Scott Bessent on the potential trade deals.
He said he's not going. The Japanese Prime Minister recently said he's not going to rush to get a compromise and a negotiation. How quickly do you think you can see these deals come to fruition?
Well, again, I think there will be advantage to our allies, especially, and a first mover advantage. Usually the first person who makes the deal gets the best deal. So
who do you think will be first?
It's their choice.
Is there a handful of countries that you expect to have a deal before the 90 days is up?
Oh, I think there could be numerous countries. And look, it may not be the actual trade document, but we will have an agreement in principle and be able to move forward from there.
So are we talking about a dozen or 70 plus?
Look, I think it's going to depend, but we're going to move with all deliberate speed. And again, it's going to be a process. It's going to be USTR, who just has mountains of data that they've been collecting over the years. Because in a funny way, the tariffs are the easiest part. So a country with high tariffs, you can just say, okay, this, get rid of it. It's the non-tariff trade barriers that are more insidious, more difficult to spot. And it's probably going to take a little longer to exercise those demons.
Let's keep going. We got some more on that. Talking about the U.S. currency.
Safe haven asset.
Scott,
You're not concerned at this moment about the U.S. dollar or the U.S. Treasury losing safe haven asset?
No. Look,
we're still a global reserve currency.
We are still a global reserve currency. We have a strong dollar policy. The dollar can go up and down. If you go and look back at President Trump's first term, I don't remember the exact number, but the dollar in 2017 went down, I can't remember, 7, 8, 9%, and then once the tax bill was done, took off for the remainder of his term.
Okay, so the economic revolution is underway. Trump's trade plan already creating the biggest manufacturing comeback in American history. The globalist media doesn't want you to understand how it works, but I'm going to expose it all for you right now. Here are the globalist puppets saying bringing back manufacturing is a pipe dream. Janet Yellen. Let's listen to her.
accomplished. Perhaps it's to bring back American manufacturing, but I really think that's a pipe dream and not something that is likely to be accomplished. And we could even raise questions about whether or not, in a broad-based way, that's a desirable goal. Perhaps it's to...
A desirable goal? A pipe dream? I mean, she's one of the architects of destruction to begin with. Oh, my goodness. Here, the master plan revealed 10% reciprocal tariff baseline for the whole world. Special protection for national security items. Listen. Oh, and here's the part about the cannonballs. What? The Cannonball Principle?
First thing is, the president has a comprehensive, detailed, very sensible plan to manage rebooting our trade relationships. And let's just go through it really, really quickly. And sorry, a lawnmower just went by, so I got to speak a little louder. So the first thing is that we've got this baseline tariff that right now is 10%, but could negotiate up from there if people don't make big concessions. But let's just say right now we've got a 10% reciprocal tariff, which is the baseline for the whole world. In addition, we have these things which are called 232 items, which are things that are really, really important for national security. And so the example I like to give when I'm explaining trade policy to graduate students is the way to think about 232 is that if you've got a cannon, but you've got cannonballs that you have to buy from the enemy, then if there ends up being, some kind of action with the enemy, then you might run out of cannonballs really fast. And so it's okay to put a tariff on a cannonball. Now, for semiconductors, there are a lot of semiconductors in your car, in my car. There are semiconductors in military things. And so for a 232 semiconductor action, it's extremely important that we look at, and the president said he'll announce one this week, we look at the things that influence national security and make sure that we're onshoring that production so that if there ever were a problem in the future, that the U.S. would be 100% ready. And so if you put a semiconductor in, a toaster, then that's probably not a national security matter. But in the end, what will happen will be the legal process. We'll decide what is a national security matter with guidance from the president's team and the president. And I got to say that this plan has been basically the plan from the beginning. From the beginning, we've been talking about which things are 232s, which things are covered by the Reciprocal Trade Act. And so nobody should think that there was a surprise or anything at the last minute last week.
World leaders are now begging to make deals, more than 10 deals with amazing offers made to the U.S. So much progress they can't decide whether to announce them one by one or all at one. Listen.
Where we've got everybody in the trade team and even deputies of people in the trade team talking to just about everybody on earth. And I think that we've got more than 10 deals where there's very, very good, amazing offers made to the U.S. That USTR Trade Representative Jameson Greer and Howard Lutnick and the rest of our trade team and the president are stewing over whether those deals are good enough. And so I think that the one question that I have open in my mind is, should we go one at a time or should we announce a bundle all at once, because we have so much progress made so quickly. And don't forget, because this president's plan was pretty much sketched the way you and I have talked about it right from the beginning, even before he was inaugurated. And so there have been a heck of a lot of talks that have been ongoing throughout the time that we've been here. And so even before the Reciprocal Trade Act was announced, I think we had 2 or 3 deals that were very, very close to being closed. And so the president will decide when he's satisfied with a deal and when he wants to announce it and how many all at once. But I can tell you the progress has been astonishing.
Well, I mean, he is the master deal maker. For 40 years, our workers were betrayed while globalist vultures got rich. Listen to this.
That we need. For 40 years, we have lost manufacturing capacity. Workers have seen their wages stagnate. And some of the most critical things that we need, from the pharmaceuticals, the drugs that we give to our children, the antibiotics that we give to our kids, to the weapons that we actually need to fight a war, if God forbid we had to fight a war, we don't make enough of that stuff. And so President Trump ran explicitly on changing that. Yes, as the president mentioned, it caused a little bit of disruption in the market, but I actually think over the long term, workers are going to benefit, stocks are going to go up, American businesses are going to benefit as we reinvest and reindustrialize our country. For 40 years, we have...
Yeah, and that's what Janet Yellen says is a pipe dream. America will make its own drugs, its own steel, its own aluminum. Again, $7 trillion flooding into our economy in just 2 months. Here's the president.
And we're doing it because we want to make our own drugs. We're doing it because we want to make our own steel and aluminum, lumber, other things. And they're all coming in. We have record numbers, $7 trillion. Since I announced my a month and a half ago, since I came in. We have over $7 trillion being invested in the country. We didn't have $1 trillion. We didn't have $500 billion for some of these guys. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. So we have the largest investment that we've ever heard of, and we're only 2 months in. And that'll continue at levels that you've never seen before. It's going to happen.
And we're watching trillions of dollars to onshore the foundries. Companies are in a horse race to build American semiconductor plants. The rewards for those moving fastest will be enormous. Corporate America finally investing in American workers instead of foreign slaves. NVIDIA, the AI giant that controls the world, bringing hundreds of billions in investment to America. Without tariffs, they wouldn't be doing it.
You scored another major investment win this morning when NVIDIA pledged to build its AI supercomputer, the first time ever, right here in the United States.
Thank you. That's a question I like. That's true.
What is your reaction to this announcement, sir, and how does it positively benefit Americans across America?
Well, it's one of the biggest announcements you'll ever hear, because NVIDIA, as you know, controls that almost the entire sector, which is one of the most important sectors in the world, between chips and semiconductors and everything else. And they're the biggest. And the other biggest we already have coming in and spending $300 billion, as you know. They announced 2 weeks ago. But NVIDIA is so highly respected. And this was an announcement that a lot of people, I knew it was going to happen, but not to the extent that it happened. It's big. And the reason they did it is because of the election on November 5th and because of a thing called tariffs, as I say, the most beautiful word in the dictionary. After love, God, relationship, the press actually hit me and said, tariff is the most beautiful word in the dictionary. What about family, love, God? I got hit even on that. You understand? I said, okay. So now I say it's my 5th most favorite word because they get you on anything. But that NVIDIA, it's one of the great companies of the world, modern, super modern companies, controls segments that nobody, sort of controls the world in a sense, and they're coming in here in the biggest way with hundreds of billions of dollars. Not like millions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, and I'm honored by it. And I want to thank Jensen and all of the people that we deal with. They're great people. They're brilliant people.
President Trump said, I don't change my mind, but I am flexible. Trump giving auto companies time to transition while keeping America first. This is 4D chess, not rigid ideology. Listen.
Parts.
Yesterday, you mentioned short-lived product exemptions. Which specific products are you considering, and how long is short-lived? Weeks, months?
I'm looking at something to help some of the car companies where they're switching to parts that were made in Canada, Mexico, and other places, and they need a little bit of time because they're going to make them here, but they need a little bit of time. So I'm talking about things like that.
What about any Apple products, other cell phones?
Look, I'm a very flexible person. I don't change my mind, but I'm flexible. And you have to be. You just can't have a wall and you'll only go. No, sometimes you have to go around it, under it, or above it. There'll be maybe things coming up. I speak to Tim Cook. I helped Tim Cook recently, and that whole business. I don't want to hurt anybody, but the end result is we're going to get to the position of greatness for our country. We're the greatest economic power in the world if we're smart. If we're not smart, we're going to hurt our country very badly.
And that's exactly what Joe Biden did. But we're witnessing the great American industrial comeback happening right now. Well, the fake news lies about Trump's trade policy. American workers are seeing jobs and factories return. The globalists who destroyed our manufacturing base are now in total panic. Make sure you follow Next News for the truth they don't want you to hear. So the globalists, for 40 years, the globalist vultures got rich while our workers were betrayed. The drugs we give our children, the weapons we need to fight wars, we don't make enough. That's what Trump said. But now Ford, Intel, Boeing, they're all flooding the system with new investments. America isn't just back, it's dominant. While CNN and MSNBC bury their heads in recycled talking points, Trump is pulling off the biggest economic turnaround since Reagan. They called it crazy. They called it a stunt. But every factory job coming back proves them wrong. And Trump told us the ball is in China's court. We don't need them, they need us. So here's my question for you. Is Trump's aggressive trade strategy the greatest economic counterattack against China in our lifetime? Comment below. And show your patriotic pride with Next News gear, available now at the Next News merch shop, linked down below.